Hey, what's up guys, aarava here, and welcome back to a brand new video here today, and an F1 game experiment. It's been a bit of a while since our last one. I think our last experiment on the F1 game was maybe in early January when we asked the question, what if the entire grid had equal cars, and that race ended up being quite interesting. So today we're posing another question, maybe one that's been floated around a little bit in the world of Formula 1, especially with regards to the F1 sprints that we've had in the last year and will be having on this year's calendar. The first one being at Imola, so that's why we're here at Imola on the F1 game, because we're asking, what if there were reverse grid sprint races in Formula 1? How would that look? So we're here on the F1 game. We're doing one-shot qualifying right now, driving as Hamilton in the Mercedes, obviously going to be aiming for pole position, but we've got now a mod in the game that is going to take the qualifying order that we have here, but it's going to set up the grid in the reverse order. So technically, Hamilton, we still will be on pole position on the grid, but the grid then is reversed, if you know what I mean. It's got kind of almost like that technicality that F1 had last year, with pole position being the race winner of the sprint, even though now they've changed it, I know. But so technically we're on pole, but then as we form the starting grid, we're going to be swapped round with this mod. So we're actually going to be starting in last place, P20 for this race, as will obviously everyone else will be swapped around. So the Haas cars will be on the front row of the grid. We've got a 5-lap race coming up, so let's just see how we do. You can see here we are still in P1 technically on the race director, but we are on the grid in P20's grid slot. And so let's see how far up the order we can get. I think our POV as a player is going to be more accurate to how a reverse grid race, a 5-lap sprint in real life would go, because I think the AI, I just have a hunch that they're going to get stuck a little bit in dirty air and DRS trains from just not, you know, deviating for the racing line. But let's see. As we go to 5 red lights, the Haas are on the front row as we start our very first reverse grid sprint race in Formula 1. Lights out and away we go. We're alongside Verstappen on the last row of the grid, and already it's getting a little bit hairy ahead of us. We've got multiple 3 wides, 2 wides, some faster cars trying to make an impact. We're going to try and make an impact. Down the inside of, that was Ricciardo there. 3 wide moment between Perez, Norris, and Bottas. Now, even though it's a 5-lap sprint race, of course, we still don't want to have damage on this, because it's only 5 laps. There's no way you can recover if you have damage. So although I'm going to be trying to drive aggressively, we also need to watch out for not getting damage, as Ricciardo now dives down the inside of Perez. Very surprised there. So 3 abreast with the Red Bull and McLaren, using a bit of ERS up the hill to try and jump ourselves up into P17. So a bit of a slow progress right now as Perez tries to come back at me though, but we are going to book in P17. Bottas with a better start, of course, though he qualified lower, so he actually started higher in this race. So we're going to catch up to him now and try and make a move as we enter the last stage of lap 1. You can see Norris and Leclerc going toe-to-toe. McLaren v Ferrari once again, as it was so many times last season, of course. Can we now try and overtake Valtteri into the last 2 corners? Norris and Leclerc still side by side. Bottas giving us a bit of a tougher time really to overtake him easily, of course, in the same piece of machinery, but eventually we'll get the better run through the final corner. Got the racing line, and now we've got a toe on Norris and Leclerc. It's going to be maybe a 3 wide moment. Here we go. McLaren v Ferrari v Mercedes. Probably something you wouldn't have gotten with the 2021 cars if we weren't reverse grid. We switch back Leclerc and we're up into P15, looking to get the McLaren then soon come on this lap. So it's been slow progress, I'd say. P15 in real life, remember, Lewis was already higher than this, wasn't he? I think on the opening laps of the Sao Paulo sprint race. So even I'm not able to maybe match what Lewis could do in real life. Remember, Imola though is a very different circuit, Sao Paulo. So, you know, this is an experiment. It's scientific. There's a hypothesis that we've got that it would make races exciting, because this is why I wanted to do this, because I've always thought the sprint races we have right now in F1, I feel they're very pointless, because the sprint's too long in terms of laps. So there's, you know, there's more leeway for drivers to be a bit cautious. They don't have to be so panicky and so straight away making a dive bomb. Because the points, obviously, last year, I know they've changed them now for this year, and the points extend all the way down to P10, I think it is, or P8. You know, but even then, I don't think there's enough incentive to people to go for dive bombs, go for aggressive moves. I feel like the points maybe need to be all the way down the grid, and I think the addition of a reverse grid would make it spicy, although at the same time, I'm also a bit of a purist in the fact that that's because I think F1 are hell-bent on trying to have some sort of sprint race. If there wasn't, I wouldn't be, unhappy about that. I think we're fine with the action we got without an F1 sprint. But if F1 are insistent on doing a sprint race, I think a reverse grid or just even a shorter sprint race where it's like a 5-lap affair, 10-lap affair would be so much better. And so that's why this hypothesis is here today. So we're making some aggressive moves on Pierre Gasly there. We got our signs pretty easily, but it was a punchy move on Gasly. It's going to be a punchy move on Tsunoda as we go right around the outside of him in normally what is nearly a flat-out double right-hander, or first right-hander and then a steady break and then a quick acceleration up the order. Now we're trying to get Sebastian Vettel, but Vettel pounces on Ocon there. The two do a bit of a tango through the chicane. So although I would say you can already tell, look at the minimap, the cars around me, the Red Bulls, Ferrari, McLaren, they're not really making the same progress I'm making. But I am seeing a bit more aggressive driving from some of these midfield cars. Vettel diving down the inside of Ocon there. We saw Norris and Leclerc going side by side. I'm seeing plenty of side-by-sides up the road between the Alpines, the Williams, as Russell loses another position down to P7. So clearly there is some punchy racing going on at the sharp end, because remember, all these guys, they're in lower cars, back markers, some of them, the Haas and the Alfa Romeo, they're not, used to scoring points. So with a reverse grid, they would be fighting for their lives, surely, to try and maintain the track position they have, which was obviously in the top 7 on the starting grid, top 8 on the starting grid. So we're seeing that in this game, but what you're also seeing is that classic unfortunate thing. Unlike in real life, in the game, the top cars getting stuck behind some of the slower cars because they don't deviate enough from the racing line. That's at least one area I feel always the Codemasters, they need to improve on. The AI have come so far. They're the best AI we've ever had on an F1 game by far on F1 2021, but they still need improvements in areas, and that's one of them. So that kind of hinders this scientific experiment in question we're asking with this one. But anyway, as I've been waffling on about that scientific talk, we've been making the moves, making some pretty decent ones on Russell it was, on the inside, and a really big dive bomb on the Haas as we go up into P3. So we're at a podium right now. We're on the last lap of the Grand Prix. Could we do this? Could we go from the back of the grid to first around Imola, driving as Hamilton? My fellow top cars have not followed me through, as I've explained extensively just before then, the reasoning why. But can we do this? I feel like this would be more realistic for what we're doing. This would be a more accurate picture, I feel, of what might actually happen. Because, the top cars, they're so much quicker than the bottom ones. And you would say with more aggression, they're better drivers as well, that they would have the aggression to maybe do this. As we can't quite get first place. But my God, what an exciting end to that one. As we are literally a tyre width behind getting first place from last place in this reverse grid. So what did we learn? I feel like my POV was more accurate to maybe what we would see in real life from the top drivers in top cars. But at the same time, Imola, it's a circuit that's difficult to overtake at. Maybe the AI in the top cars, the Red Bulls and whatnot, maybe they were accurate to what we would see. Maybe F1 is, the dirtiest, far too much in a 5-lap race, without, DRS only being activated for 2 laps. Maybe it's not enough to make an exciting sprint race. I don't know, but that's the beauty of these F1 experiments on the game. We just kind of, see how it goes in the game, but there's always that massive pinch of salt. But it's exciting to see, and it was also a mod that I wanted to use for a while. Very cool mod to reverse the grid from the qualifying position. So guys, if you did enjoy the video, hit the like button. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. If you want me to try this experiment at another circuit, maybe, if in your opinion this wasn't the best place to do it and you want me to do it at a different circuit with a reverse grid, then do tell me in the comments below which circuit you think that should be. If you are new around here, then get subscribed for weekly Formula 1 content. And like I said, it's been a while since we've done F1 experiments. The last one was January. So if there's any other kind of hypothetical questions that you guys want me to be asking on the F1 game, then let me know in the comments below and I can see what I can do. Obviously, there's limitations with what we can do with mods, etc, etc. But if you have any ideas, let me know and I'll see what I can cook up in the coming weeks and months. But I've been aarava. Hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.